Well, it's like waiting for the school teacher to turn up, isn't it? Everybody's very quiet. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Des Graham. I'm the chair of MSA and its subsidiary MS Research Australia. I'm also a person with MS, and in that regard, my MS affects my tongue, and so it's interesting that I do a lot of speeches these days, and even with my tongue being tied, I used to say, if I get stuck, somebody come and smack me in the back of the head and it'll reset me. But then I know everybody used to be sort of ready to jump, so I don't do that anymore, so keep seated. Look, I'm truly honoured to be here today, and with a lot of friends, and acknowledge the time that you're giving us this morning. I'm an enormously proud country boy from remote New South Wales, in a little town called Wilkenya, which is an Indigenous population, an Indigenous town. And I grew up with the Barkindji local people, and in fact, during my high school years, I was the only Caucasian in the class, which I think, if I recall correctly, we peaked at about 6 students in. I only went to year 10, and I think year 10 we had 6 students. And but during that time, I certainly learnt and appreciated our Indigenous culture. So I'd like to pay our respect and acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Ngunnawal people, and also acknowledge past, present and emerging leaders. I'd also like to, again, welcome everybody, and particularly Senator Askew and Senator O'Neill, who are our co-chairs of the Parliamentary Friends of MS. But I'd also like to acknowledge other members of Parliament here that are here with us today, our close friends, our researchers, our staff, our friends of MSA, Mr Andrew Giles in particular, who seems to be able to pull these events off and get us all through the door and with unscathed and in the right room. So thank you, Andrew. But I particularly want to thank people with MS because at the end of the day, you are our cornerstone that keeps us coming back together, to be connected, to face the challenge of finding a cure and improving care. Unfortunately, our Prime Minister sent an apology yesterday afternoon, but please stay seated because we've got some dynamic speakers this morning. So they'll keep you awake and we can inform the PM later about what he's missed out on. So, more than ever before, the MSA board is energised for the task it has, and it has recruited an experienced campaigner, highly skilled communicator in Rohan, and we feel we are in good hands. We've never been more connected with the MSA board and the MSRA entities coming together as one, providing much better capacity, greater support internally, but also greater support to our members, our institutions and our highly engaged volunteers. In the area of MS, we have made significant gains over the last 10 years, in particular the last 5, across searching for a cure and improving the care of people living with MS today. We know so many parts of the moving puzzle that is MS and the biology that underpins the disease. We have moved so far beyond exons and dendrites and calcium channels to myelin and myelin repair and oligodendrocytes and a range of other critically important parts of the puzzle. We have improved our disease-modifying therapies monumentally, and we have translated research findings into improved quality of life and improved daily living outcomes. But here's the rub. We still don't have a cure, and people with MS still do not enjoy the same level of quality of life as other Australians. In fact, some people living with MS have over a 40% reduction in the quality of their life compared to Australians. People with progressive MS, their quality of life is actually some 40% less than other Australians. People with progressive MS, their quality of life is similar or worse than terminal metastatic cancer. The annual per person cost of MS is similar to a person with MS disease, a person with Parkinson's disease, or the first year of funding following a stroke. And it's 3 times higher than for a person with type 2 diabetes. We still have young people living in nursing homes. We do not recognise the enormous physical and mental strain that we put on our carers, who provide an enormous amount of hours caring for their loved ones and their friends with MS. The number of people living with MS in Australia has increased over 20% from 2010 to 2017. The annual total costs of a person continue to rise for the care and services for people with MS at around 17% per annum. Of the 26,000 people living today with MS, less than a third have gained entry into the NDIS. And the health economic impact of MS was $1.75 billion annually in 2017, a 41% increase since 2010. MS Australia, as the leading voice for people with MS, we have never invested higher into research. We have a bank balance of $15 million, all of it dedicated to finding a cure and improving outcomes. 97% of that $15 million has come from our incredible donors and from fundraisings. We help fund 60 research projects across the country. $15 million over 60 projects against a health economic impact of $1.75 billion. It's a mind-boggling challenge. But here's the light. We are absolutely at the cusp of something great. Our tool bag has never been heavier or fuller. If we supercharge with some additional resources, in particular some additional funding, the MS agenda is likely that we are likely to find the cure. And certainly, without doubt, we will improve the care. We can stop progressive disability, and we can markedly improve the lives of people living with MS today. But only if we supercharge the agenda. As a person with MS and chair of the National Peak Body, I'm determined to make a difference. I've spoken about a re-energised MSA board, our fantastic staff and the advocates, the hundreds of dedicated researchers, the thousands of volunteers and carers, and of course our foundation cornerstones, people living with MS. We have a Prime Minister whose life has been touched by MS. We have 2 incredible senators, our co-chairs of the Parliamentary Friends, who have lived the experience of family members with MS. We are connected nationally and internationally to every MS research institute, every lab, and anybody that puts on a white lab coat. We have textbooks full of almost cures. The stars have literally never lined up like this. We need to take the opportunity now to supercharge that agenda, because we are at the brink of some fantastic opportunities, and we have to take that opportunity now. So we need the PM, Minister Hunt, Minister Reynolds, and any other decision makers help us supercharge the agenda. Help us find the cure and the care, but we ideally need their support. We are so close, so very close. And it's not going to be a deep dive for our government. We're not asking for trillions or billions, but we need some help. And MSA will continue to play its role in creating awareness, fundraising, matching the funding as close as we can if the government was to put some additional resources into the research arena. Again, I say, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Never before have so many key players lined up together. We can absolutely crack this thing, but we need to supercharge it, there's no doubt, and we need additional support. So, in closing, can I ask that you recall today and that we mark this World MS Day as the day we connected everyone together and agreed to supercharge the MS agenda and beat this disease once and for all. Thank you. Now, not only did I get to make some opening remarks, but I also get to be your MC, which is, again, interesting given that, you know, they asked the person probably less able to do this, but I'm honoured to be here again with you today. So I think, Senator O'Neill, you're up. So.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Parliament House, the place that lights up the nation with great ideas and invests in a better life for all of us. Well, that's what we hope every day when we get up and we walk in here and we make our contribution. Can I acknowledge that we gather on the land of the Ngunnawal and Ngambri people, pay my respects to elders past and present, and I just want to let you know, Des, that last night down in the Great Hall at the Christian Schools dinner, I was speaking with a local from the Central Coast, Laurie O'Brien. It's all about connections. I know that that's your theme. Laurie O'Brien let me know last night that there's a whole load of musical instruments that have been taken up and are now being used by the community, in the kids in the Central School at Wilcannia. So, you know, what people can do when they get together, it doesn't mean that there isn't a very, very significant role for government to play, but, you know, through the connections, there's kind of the enhancement of what the plan is. It's about the human connection between us all. I'm really delighted to be here, and I know that many of my colleagues are paying close attention to what's happening. I also want to acknowledge all those who are joining us online across Australia. When MS arrives for an individual, it comes to everybody who loves them in a different way. And in the conversations this morning, I know with my co-chair, Wendy Askew, who genuinely is a great pleasure to work with her on these issues and to continue to raise awareness. Wendy's own brother has MS. Senator Fiervanti Wells, fellow senator from New South Wales, of course she's from the Liberal team. I don't think that's quite as good as being from Labor, but nonetheless, through her lived experience with her sister-in-law, is somebody who's watched the life of a person living with MS, trying to do the best that they can. I acknowledge Senator Rachel Seward, who's here with us. I haven't had a chance to talk to her about MS this morning, but I know she's a passionate advocate for health access for people across the country. And my own colleague from New South Wales, Anne Stanley, who's just a remarkable representative of a great community in Western Sydney through her own experience of her mum. So we have these deep connections here in the Parliament to our families, through our families, into our parties, into the conversations about policy making, about decisions to invest. And people across Australia who have MS now, it's a remarkable time, a transformational time in terms of the knowledge and the capacity for Australia to do what we do best, to work collaboratively, to get ahead, to get out, and to lead the world in research that is profoundly life-altering. Life-altering. Of course, we want the cure, and money must be set aside for the blue sky thinking and the non-translational research, at least as it starts out, to give people the hope to think creatively, differently, and lift, to figure out how we can advance. At the same time, people who are living right now with MS, amazing people like my young nephew, James O'Neill, who's just finished civil engineering qualifications and is working in a business and growing his capacity and in a wonderful relationship and about to embark on a life with a wonderful woman. All of the fullness of that young man's talent we want to be able to see as Australians who share the journey with him. I've never been a runner, but I actually did the 8K for the MS a couple of years ago, and at the moment I'm doing the 50K for May, and I know that lots and lots of companies are getting on board with that because together we are always so much stronger than trying to advance as individuals. So thank you to each of one of you for being here at breakfast. Thank you to those who are online. Thank you for your passion. Oh, there you are. Okay, I see a camera over there. So thank you for your passion. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for what you do in caring for people for MS, being a champion. And thank you to all those who fight MS every day and get up and live the best life that you can. We really appreciate your courage and your conviction, and you inspire us. I very much thank you for the opportunity for being here, and we continue our work together. Enjoy your breakfast. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, and we certainly appreciate your contribution and your passion for people living with MS today and also searching for that cure. I'm going to invite to the stage one of our rock stars. Dr. Julia Morahan is the Head of Research at MS Australia and is absolutely our key connection to the broader research institutes around the world. So, Julia, please.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today to talk about MS research and the astounding progress that we've made over the last couple of decades. We have certainly come an amazing way in that time. 25 years ago, if you were diagnosed with MS in Australia, there were no treatment options. In my role as Head of Research at MS Australia, I have come across so many people that were diagnosed with MS in that time, who were told by their doctors that there was no point in seeing a neurologist because there was nothing that they could do. I was speaking to someone last week who told me that they were told that MS was just something that they had to live with. For another, at 23, who had visual symptoms, that they would probably go blind in about 5 years and end up in a wheelchair. That they shouldn't have children because they wouldn't be able to care for them properly or see them grow up. Or if they really wanted to have children, then they should probably get cracking now because it's better to be a young disabled mother than an older one. Basically, that the life that they'd imagined for themselves was no longer viable. So if you think about it, these people, often young and in the prime of their lives, then go home, crushed and deflated, seeing absolutely nothing in their future and fearing the worst. I am so pleased to be able to say that this is no longer the case for so many people that are being diagnosed with MS now. I will just acknowledge that there are still so many Australians that are so heavily affected by this disease, and we are throwing ourselves at this problem. More about that in a minute. But those earlier responses, from the time before the advent of disease-modifying therapies, are truly shocking to me because it is so far from what we have now. We have huge momentum at the moment. There is so much we now know about MS and so much that we can do for people who are living with the disease. The first disease-modifying therapy was approved in Australia in 2000. Today, we have 16 therapies available to treat the disease. If you were diagnosed with MS today, we could potentially stave off disability and keep you well for the long term. For some people with MS, we can effectively stop MS in its tracks. And this is because of research. but don't take my word for it, I'm obviously biased. Over the last 15 years, people with MS are being diagnosed 10 times earlier, and disability milestones are being reached approximately 10 years later. By 2011, hospitalisations for people with MS was down 75% compared to 1984. And for those that do receive treatment, especially treatment early in the disease, the severity of MS and the conversion to the progressive forms of MS is markedly delayed. And Australia has led the way in a lot of this research. We have a long and proud history of MS research, and we are responsible for some amazing achievements. We now know that MS develops due to a combination of genetics and environmental factors, that it's a complex combination of these risk factors that lead to the disease in some individuals. We know this largely in part to a great study called AusImmune, which was called that because it was devised and carried out right here in Australia. We wanted to know why some people develop MS and others do not. So what did we find out? Sunshine is important, vitamin D is important, where you live is important. If you live in the northern part of Australia, you are 7 times less likely to develop MS than those people that live in the south. But not satisfied just in that knowledge, we then launched into taking action, leading a world-first clinical trial looking at whether vitamin D supplementation can prevent you from getting MS. It hasn't been easy, and it's taken us 7 years, but we're very excited that we'll be able to release the results of that clinical trial in a couple of months, and it isn't just Australians who are sitting on the edge of their seats for those results. But that's not all. Australian researchers have also forged ahead with research into another risk factor for MS, the Epstein-Barr virus. This is the virus that causes glandular fever, and actually the majority of us have been infected by this virus. But having been infected with the virus makes you more likely to develop MS. A clinician researcher, Professor Michael Pender in Queensland, has spent his career looking at the role of Epstein-Barr virus in MS and how it affects immune cells. Not just for academic knowledge, but so we can do something about it. His work has now led to a completely novel way of treating progressive MS by teaching the immune system to recognise the virus and effectively clear it more effectively. One thing that I'm very proud of that separates MS Australia and MS Research Australia from other research organisations is that we are heavily involved and embedded in the MS community. Long before patient-centred treatment or patient-reported outcomes came into vogue, we set up the Australian MS Longitudinal study, which asks people living with MS about the experience of their disease, and we've been doing that for 20 years. It gives us unparalleled insights into the real lives of people living with MS and how we can advance their lives, keep them employed, and keep them engaged in the MS community, not just to survive, but to thrive. 20 years after we set this up, we are once again pushing the envelope, partnering with medical research institutes and some Australian businesses, including having discussions with another Australian success story, Atlassian, to take the patient-reported outcomes to the next level, such as using everyday wearable technology to unlock the mysteries of MS and empower people with MS to take control of their treatment. It is hoped that this will give us the power to detect small changes to a person's symptoms between their survey responses for the longitudinal studies or between their neurologist visits, and allow people with MS and their healthcare team to recognise and respond to changes more quickly, leading to better outcomes for people with MS. We are very proud at MS Australia to have played a pivotal role in facilitating research into these topics, and the most important role that we have played is to improve the lives of people with MS through research. However, while we are on a roll, we are not done yet. There are people with MS for whom the medications that are currently available fail to work. People with progressive MS still need more effective therapies. While I did say we have the ability to stop MS in its tracks, we can't do that for everyone, and we now want to be able to reverse the damage that the immune system has already wreaked on the brain and spinal cords of people with MS. We need to find a way to reverse the damage that has already occurred. This is the holy grail of MS research and will give us a way to repair damage that occurs in the progressive forms of MS. Hope for people with progressive MS is something that has only recently entered the MS lexicon. We will do this by researching ways to restore myelin, the very substance that the immune system attacks in MS, boosting natural repair mechanisms in the brain and spinal cord, and restoring function to shattered nerves. For a long time, we have been cultivating this area of research in Australia, and we have huge potential here. We have world-renowned researchers potentially moving into the clinical trial stage, if we can help them get there. There are definitely reasons to hope, but we need to keep the momentum up on the research and build on the great foundational work that we have already conducted in Australia. I am so proud when I look back and see what we have achieved, but imagine if we could do the next steps that are needed. I would love to be able to tell people in another 25 years that MS is treatable, manageable, and reversible, that it was nothing to worry about, and that they can just get on with their life. We are obligated to do this for those, not just for those with MS, but for all Australians who are going to develop MS in the future. Thank you. Do you want me to introduce Dave? Okay, so I have the very great pleasure of introducing our next speaker. I've only just scratched the surface of MS in my talk today, but it's actually a perfect segue to introduce one of our outstanding Australian researchers, Professor David Tscharke, who has more than just a professional interest in MS. David is the Head of Immunology and Infectious Diseases at the John Curtin School of Medical Research at the Australian National University. He is a leading light for us in Australian research. He's a virus expert and has been invaluable to us in assisting MS Australia and MS Research Australia, as well as the MS International Federation, in providing evidence-based information and advice for people with MS during the COVID-19 pandemic, helping us lead the Australian community with their advice. So thank you so much for your help, David, and welcome.
Thanks for those really kind words, Julia. I've realised that Julia's said nearly everything that I want to say. We should coordinate our talks better. But I'm going to put a personal spin on this. It's a real pleasure and a privilege to be here and to speak to you this morning as a person with MS and an MS researcher. So being a biomedical scientist in a field of direct personal relevance is actually rather an odd place to be. Having extra insight into my own disease, that's always empowering. It's always great. But then there are the days when how I feel about my MS kind of overtakes what I know about my MS. I might find myself responding on a completely emotional level to some new information, some scientific word. We're going to say oligodendrocyte, whichever word you want. But it's striking me emotionally, I'm not thinking. And the scientist in my head is going, I'm supposed to be in charge. Right? I'm supposed to pass this sort of information. Apparently not. So this being the case, I hope you'll forgive me for making a bold and not very scientific claim. Science and medical research is our superpower in the MS community. To take the connections theme of World MS Day, research is my connection to hope. So I'd like to use my story and explain this just a little bit more. So my first really close contact, personal contact with MS was when my PhD supervisor, then in his early 40s, was diagnosed with MS. This was in the early to mid-90s, before any of the current treatments were available. He had several severe relapses. He was paralysed down one side, he was blinded, which went on for weeks. And his accrual of disability was obvious by the time I left the lab, only 2 or 3 years later. So fast forward roughly 20 years, and I was finding myself, now in my early 40s, with the same diagnosis. So you can imagine exactly what I was thinking. Now, by the time of my diagnosis, there were some of the disease-modifying therapies. Right? I was super keen to start. Right? The one advantage of my science background, I'm all for the evidence and for the therapies available. But the evidence was still saying that these would reduce my relapses, but there was no expectation that they would change the long-term course of my disease. There was no expectation that it would change my likelihood of eventual disability. I remember really vividly the MS nurse doing her best to gently manage my expectations about how good things were going to be, to explain that I should plan, because my life was probably not going to be how I thought it was going to be. My third child was born 3 months later. This was a pretty big time in my life. But what was not clear then, but is absolutely clear now, is the treatments are actually much better than anyone dared to hope. Like anyone dared to hope. They absolutely do change the trajectory of MS. And for me, this really sank in when I was having a conversation with a neurologist, having entered the MS research community, as well as the MS community. And I was saying I felt one of the lucky ones. I was walking in, I was still working full time. And this neurologist, perhaps not with his best bedside manner, rather bluntly said that no, there was nothing special about me at all. Actually, most people who are diagnosed early and get on treatments early, they all look like you now. I have to admit I was a little bit crushed because I had this idea that I was special, right? That I was beating MS, I was doing the job myself. Actually, my luck was my timing, okay? And of course, a victory over MS in general is so much better than a victory for me personally. But I was wondering how I missed this major breakthrough. And in fact, a lot of people, I think, don't understand this. And I think the answer is that there was no definitive experiment. There was no big clinical trial. There was no big scientific paper to be publicised by an institution and splashed across the newspapers. There was just a slower realisation that the ground had shifted beneath us. So when I speak to people now who run MS clinics, what they say is their practice is completely different now than it was 10, 15 years ago. That a lot of people are walking in and are still walking in just like I do, and that wheelchairs are becoming rarer. Now that's an astonishing thing. Personally, it's allowed me to adjust my expectations. Where I was once thinking about making sure that each one of my students has an alternative supervisor in case I wasn't there, now I'm head of department. How did that happen? Right? After a decade with MS, I ride my bike to work and back every day. I've already smashed my 50k limit for the MS Research May 50k. I'm delighted to do that. So I do still have MS symptoms that bother me. I don't like doing up my right cuff link. It's a bad idea this morning. My treatment does have side effects. And my anxiety about the future is not completely gone. But these are stories for another day, right? Today, the big picture for me is how much more hopeful the future looks. So looking forward now, for my kind of MS, we've done the previously unthinkable, right? Slowing and even halting progression for many people, as Julia said. So it's a promising start. The great thing is that no goal is unthinkable now. More than ever, we know that research investment in MS research has a huge impact. So where are we going? Progressive forms of MS have resisted treatment, as Julia said, but there's a renewed push and we have trials. Prospect on repairing the damage done to nerves and reverse MS symptoms is being worked on, and again, we're seeing progress. And there's a steady stream of new ideas to help those already living with disability because of MS that developed before there was treatments. So can I say absolutely clearly, it is critical that we leave no one in our MS community behind. I'm heartened to say this is how I read the forward agenda of MS Research Australia. And that's really important. It doesn't stop with one person. It doesn't stop until all of us and all of our challenges have been addressed. I'll just very briefly touch on Epstein-Barr virus because I'm a virologist, I study viruses, and I was asked to do that. But Julia's covered most of that. So we know there is this link between this virus, which causes glandular fever, and MS. We know now from research in Australia that it is a risk factor. And in fact, having glandular fever is also a risk factor. And then we have this remarkable work in Queensland that shows that people with MS tend to make a poor immune response with a particular type of white blood cell to EBV. Ironically, I actually worked in one of the groups associated with that, and in the lab we used to bleed ourselves to do research all the time, and they rejected me because my responses to EBV were bad. They weren't interested in me. Kind of interesting coincidence. But we've now got a trial where we're taking those white cells out, we're training them in the lab to recognise EBV better and putting them back in, and the results were really promising. So the number of people in the trial was small, not everyone got benefit, all of the usual scientific caveats, right? And we need to proceed with some care, but we must proceed. We must keep going forward. And if things do continue in this direction, a vaccine or immunotherapy against EBV might be the silver bullet we're looking for. So just to finish, I'd like to say three more things, particularly because we have an audience beyond this room. To those newly diagnosed with MS, please do take advantage of the superpower of science. Work out which of the treatments you can live with, and it's not easy. I'm on my 5th one now. But get on it fast. They make a difference. To those who do or facilitate MS research, and people in the room and people out there, you are my heroes, all of you. And to those who support MS research financially, thank you so very much. You are the superhero's cape that keeps the research flying. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you at 2 levels. Thank you for sharing your personal journey, but also, again, inspiring us to accept the challenge of taking the next steps in identifying the cure and improving the care. So thank you. A very close friend of people with MS is, of course, Senator Askew. And Senator, would you come to this podium, please?
How do you follow that? Colleagues, guests, today it's my great honour to thank you for coming along today and joining us to hear the wonderful work that is being undertaken. So basically, what an amazing morning. I just am blown away. But thank you so much for coming along and for joining us either in person here or via our online coverage today. As you've heard, I do have a very personal interest in MS, with my eldest brother Peter being diagnosed 42 years ago. He was just 23 at that stage. So over recent years, his condition has deteriorated and progressed. He's certainly in the progressive stages, and he now struggles with often some of the most simplest tasks. So we do see it every day. I also come from Tasmania, as where we heard earlier. We have the highest prevalence of MS in Australia, basically due to our distance from the equator. around 7 times higher than the northern parts of Australia. This is a statistic that we're not proud of, but it's one that has encouraged me to actively support and advocate for research projects for MS. In fact, I think I've mentioned earlier, my first official visit when I became a senator just over 2 years ago was to visit the Menzies Research Centre in Tasmania, and actually really thoroughly enjoyed seeing the work that was being undertaken down there and being inspired by the work that they are doing, and also similarly the work that's being done here in the ANU. As we've heard very much from two highly regarded researchers this morning. Thank you so much for giving us your time today and to sharing your stories with us. David, your personal story is very touching, and I really appreciated you sharing that with us. I can't wait to see what the future holds in relation to MS treatments. It's just so exciting to hear what the work that's currently being done and to look forward to what is possible. So hopefully we'll be able to support you with that into the future. So my role today was more as a thank you. So just in closing, just thank you so much for everybody who is coming. Thank you to Deb. Thank you as my co-chair. I really have enjoyed working with you as well. It's wonderful that we both have shared experiences, and we also have that shared experience with the Prime Minister. And I know that he was very disappointed not to be able to make it. At one point last night we were talking about putting out a media release to the media to say that he'd be here, and 5 minutes later things had changed and we had to put his apologies in. But he did make time late last night to record a video which we'll be sharing shortly. But thank you to Des, to Rohan, and to all of the MS Australia staff here today. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Thank you to the people living with MS that are here today, and thank you so much to everyone for your support and your encouragement for the research into MS. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. It's been a great breakfast. We may be small in numbers today, but we've got a big online presence, but we're also rich in spirit and committed in cause. I think we're really pleased that we can actually be here in Parliament House. This time last year it was not possible at all, and we know the impact of COVID has had on the research community has been quite devastating. And we're very pleased that at MSA we're able to pump more money into research last year to help keep the labs open and keep the researchers doing what they do best. Hopefully next year we'll be able to be back here, and COVID will be behind us, vaccine willing, and we'll be here in much greater numbers because it's really important that we do come here. We have some important messages, as you've heard this morning, and we need to make sure that those messages resonate through the corridors of power. As Des has said, it's important that we come here. We're particularly keen to seek a partnership with the Australian Government through the Medical Research Future Fund to supercharge the MS research agenda. And we're in the process of talking to the Health Minister and putting a proposal together based on an existing research mission, which we're very optimistic will help us drive some fantastic change with the research community in the years ahead. In the short time that I've been with MS Australia, I've been absolutely astounded by how far we've come in the past 2 decades. And that really is thanks to some world-class research effort done right here in Australia. We really punch above our weight and are globally significant in the work that's done in this country. So a huge thank you to all the research community, just superb. But of course the great discoveries and the breakthroughs really do lie ahead, and not far ahead, as we've heard today. And that brings me to my next task, of course. It's the May 50K. And as I promised our fundraising director, I shall spruik shamelessly. If I know many people here are participating in the May 50K. If you haven't yet donated generously to some of the 28,000 Australians who are hitting the pavements, who are running, walking, rolling, riding, hopping, jumping, undertaking ultra marathons, please go online and support us. Our website is themay50k.org. I'm delighted to say that we're well on track to making our target. There's 4.1 million raised already. We need to raise about $5 million, so keep at it. We've got a week to go. Keep pounding the pavement and keep the money rolling in, because it's for an absolutely astounding cause. So thank you to everyone to date who supported us, and keep the money coming in. Finally, I really want to, I should say on the May 50K, Gary Humphries is here, who was, of course, I think possibly an inaugural co-chair, along with Kate Lundy, I think, of the Friends of Parliamentary MS group. And Gary is a sponsor of mine, and he also helped me get through. I've committed to doing 3 big runs, 2 15s and a half marathon. I did the half marathon on Sunday, but I did 15 in Tscharke, the other side of Goulburn, in -5 degrees with Gary last Sunday week. So a true supporter and a true believer, and I'm very grateful for your efforts. And I know there are many other wonderful stories. I know there's someone at Merck who's riding 1,000 kilometres on his bike. Merck have got 125 members of staff participating in the May 50K, and they're currently lying second on the team's challenge and about to overtake the top runner and snatch first, but we'll see how they go in this last week. So we're enormously grateful to everyone who raises those critically important dollars that will power and drive change for the people, for the 25,600 people living with MS in Australia today. So thank you. Finally, a big thank you to our speakers, to Julia, to Des, and also, of course, to David. I was delighted to meet him earlier this year. I was on his bike between primary school and the ANU, and it was great he spared some time to tell me about his fantastic work. I was blown away. Thank you to our co-chairs. Co-chairs play a critically important role, and I really thank you for your support and your passion. To Deb and Wendy, we can't thank you enough for what you do for us. We're going to conclude, I think, are we going to conclude with the video? Oh no, Des is waving at me. He wants to come up and do one more thing, but we do have a video to show shortly, but I'm going to hand you back over to Des.
Thank you, Rohan. And yes, I got a whisper in my ear that we need to play something else before the screening. But you can see why we so enthusiastically embraced Rohan onto our team. In fact, it was Rohan who came up with the theme of supercharging the agenda. And you can see that we have every confidence that in his leadership we will continue to pursue our goals with some vigour. As we mentioned earlier, the Prime Minister couldn't be with us today, but we have a short video from him, so we might play that. Hence the reason why I was. So we're going to play that first, and then finally we'll conclude with a screening for World MS Day. So over to you, somewhere up the back.
Our family understands that MS is a journey, and it has many, many battles. The biggest battle is so often holding on to as much as you can, to your mobility, to your work, to your connections. MS Australia really gets this. They work hard every day to remove the barriers, physical, emotional and social, that can leave people with MS feeling lonely and isolated. It is a blessing to thousands of Australian families, my own included. Part of that blessing is the community that MS Australia has helped to create through the connections it fosters. I've seen this journey through my brother-in-law Gary, Jenny's brother, and the journey of our whole family. Those connections matter so much. This Sunday is World MS Day, an opportunity to recommit ourselves to the journey ahead, to tackling this disease and supporting each other every way we can. Let us also celebrate the progress, though, that has been made. Let us honour the resilience of those brave people who suffer with MS and appreciate the connections between us all. Thank you, MS Australia, but thank you to all of those who live with MS every day. Thanks for your courage. Thanks for your strength. Thank you for showing us what determination and hope is all about. And may we, in our response to you, try and encourage you as best as we possibly can, because you inspire us every single day.
Recent times have been isolating for everyone. A feeling that people like me with MS or other neurological conditions know all too well. Having a chronic illness can leave you feeling lonely and shut out from those around you. For me, MS can feel like living with dark clouds always on the horizon that only I can see, and like you need to hold everything in and put on a face to appear fine and normal to the outside world. When some people find out you have MS, it may cause them to take a step back, but others will step forward because they care and want to support you. If you can share your symptoms, challenges and concerns with family and friends, you'll give them a window into your world. Once it's open, allow the people closest to you to become part of your circle of support. Let them know when you need help and what you need. From a supportive ear, a helping hand, some motivation, or a fun distraction. To stay connected, you can book regular online chats, catch-ups over coffee or lunch, or just get some fresh air together with a four-legged friend. Every day with MS can be different, so ask family and friends to check in with you and try to be understanding when you may need to cancel or change plans. Perhaps you might also like to reconnect with someone or make some new friends who share a common interest by rediscovering a lost hobby, signing up to a class, or even by starting your own group like an audiobook club. Your local MS organisation can help make these connections, including with health professionals for the times you may need a bit of extra support. There is a whole MS community available to you. With their help and the love and support of your family and friends, you can weather any storm and keep connected with the things that bring you joy.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this morning's breakfast. And again, we thank everybody who spoke, our co-chairs, and we encourage you, as Rohan has mentioned, if you haven't yet contributed to the May 50K, get on your bike, put on a pair of shoes, take a long jump, do whatever you can to help us provide the support and care to people with MS, and again, pursue that cure with some vigour. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you hopefully next year as well. So good morning.